Today's recipe is this amazingly delicious sponge cake. I actually used a reverse creaming method to make it, so it came out like perfectly. Oh my dear. Stick around long enough and you'll see how I make it. Wow, this is so spongy, pillowy, just simply marvelous. Wow. I'm using the reverse creaming method in this recipe. It requires room temperature butter. 65 to 75 degrees is perfect. I'll first combine my dry ingredients in the mixer. Then I'll be adding in my butter and a small amount of the liquid. And then lastly, I'll add in all of my liquid. Let's take a look how it works. You'll need this list of ingredients for the cake. I always sift the flour to remove any lumps. I add my sifted flour to the mixing bowl, followed by the baking powder, salt, and my sugar. I'm using a paddle attachment and I'm going to mix my dry ingredients together thoroughly for about 1 minute to a minute and a half. I'm adding in my room temperature butter that I've cut into chunks. My butter is actually 72 degrees Fahrenheit, but you can go as low as 65 degrees temperature. I like to use the range of 65 to 75 degrees. I think it works perfectly. I'm also adding in a small amount of the milk from the recipe. I would say about an ounce or perhaps 2 tablespoons work perfectly. I'm really mixing the butter with the flour mixture until the butter is dispersed nicely. If you're using colder butter, it would look more mealy. This looks slightly wet because the butter is warmer. This mixture is starting to look so amazing. For the eggs, I like to whisk the egg and egg whites together so that they're nicely combined. And then I add in my milk as well as any flavorings. For this recipe, I'm using vanilla extract as the flavor. Once the wet ingredients are combined, I then add it into my creamed mixture. I love to add it in 1/3 of the wet ingredient at a time. And by the way, I'm actually using Speed 2 on my KitchenAid mixer. It's really important to scrape down the sides of the bowl, the beater, and any ingredients that have settled underneath the bottom of the beater. The danger with the reverse creaming method is that you can undermix the cake. So you really want to scrape it down well so that everything gets thoroughly combined. With the regular creaming method, it's easy to overmix the cake. You won't have that issue with this reverse method. Finally, I add in my remaining wet ingredients and I mix until it's thoroughly combined. I give the bowl one more scrape down to make sure I get every last bit of ingredient that hasn't been combined into the batter. I mix it for a few more seconds. Oh my dear, this batter looks amazing. Looks so perfect and smooth. It's really smooth. I actually think it comes out better than the regular straightforward creaming. For the amount of batter that I've mixed, it's going to fit inside of a 12-inch round cake pan that I prepared earlier. It's buttered, lined with parchment paper, buttered again, and then dusted with all-purpose flour. You may use 4 6-inch size cake pan if you wish to make smaller layered cakes. All I want to do is pour this into my pan. This is a 12-inch pan if I didn't say that before. When filling a cake pan with batter, you want to ensure that the batter comes up no more than halfway up the sides of the pan because the cake will rise. I use a spatula to spread the top of the batter evenly. I like to put it on a sheet pan. There you go. This goes into the oven at 350 preheated. Wow. Now we wait and we wait. Whoa. Look at that. Wow. So for this cake, I baked it at 350-degree temperature. I had it in the oven for 40 minutes. So when I checked it in 40 minutes, it wobbled a little bit. So I added 10 more minutes. Not overbaked. You could feel that there's still some sponginess on the top. And it really, anyway, from 45 to 50 minutes, so you'd want to probably check it around that 45-48 minute time. I'm going to let this cool here for about 10 minutes or so before I put it on a wire rack to cool completely. I can't wait to taste it. My first method, I think, worked perfectly in this cake, and I will be using it more often. I like to use a knife to go around the edges to loosen up anything that's stuck there before inverting it onto the wire rack. It's really soft and spongy. While the cake is cooling, I always like to make a very simple whipped cream with creme fraiche flavored with vanilla extract. This gets spread all over the top of the cake. The creams are whipped to a stiff peak before dumping it on top of the cake and spreading it all over with an offset spatula. I made enough of the spreadable whipped cream just for the top of the cake, but you can certainly make enough to spread on the side. And I'm just going to put strawberries. These are organic strawberries. You could put as much or as little as you want. Besides strawberries to give that fresh, beautiful look, you may also use raspberries. I think the color contrast between the red and white looks amazing. Strawberries are delicious. I like to add a dusting of confection sugar to sweeten the strawberries even more. This is optional, of course. To be honest, I am not the best decorator of cakes, but I could bake a delicious cake. Look at this. Amazing! My favorite time. Whoa, oh, look at that. Look at that. Wow. It's heavenly. It's so good. It's perfect.